Welcome to the Ritual Disc Flip Podcast. My name is Chris Nays. I am your host. If this is your first time, this is a music podcast where we like to discuss all things music related, whether it be breaking down albums, old or new, playing select tracks from a band that I love, bringing on guests to discuss live shows. Whatever you can imagine, that is what I want to do on this show. And today, I will be discussing Lindsay and I's trip to Cross Plains, Tennessee for Morsefest 2019. It was my first time down there with Lindsay. First time for myself as well. And we had an absolutely amazing time. And I'm going to break down the entire thing with you. Now, I should mention that unfortunately this is the second time that I'm having to do this. This is the first time that's ever happened where I got done with an entire episode and then I go to load it into the computer and it's all gone. So I hope I can live up to the first time, and maybe I'll dig into some corners I didn't on the first run through. So here we go. Early morning Friday. And basically what I'm doing do with this is it's a road trip diary / show review, and I'm going to play some tunes as well. So just come along and ride with me, shall you? Shall we? See, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. This is going to be real interesting. Early morning Friday, got up, had some coffee and light breakfast, and I streamed the new Tool record, which is entitled Fear Inoculum. First run of new Tool has historically always been a challenge, but they write that kind of music. It's very It's not simple music, you know. It's challenging everything you know about them and what you think you know about them, and then there's always something new there. So I have totally dug it every time I've been able to listen, and now I've been able to check it out on headphones through my cell phone and over my stereo and everything. So it's good. We hit the road about 9:30, head over to the record store to grab the special CD version of that Tool record. One of only 8 copies they had, by the way, at my local record store, Planet Score. Very gracious to them. On the road, we listened to a little bit of Iron Maiden, best of B-sides, a lot of stuff on there I'd never heard. So I'm happy that my dad gifted me that the other day. A podcast I listened to on the road was Jim Ross discussing a wrestler named CM Punk. We're big wrestling fans in our house, and all of those names probably sound like gibberish to anybody who has no idea about wrestling at all, but suffice to say, it was a fun podcast for us to listen to. Then I put on some of the newer Flying Colors stuff so that Lindsay could be a little more familiar with them. The songs More and You Are Not Alone are on Spotify and stuff, so very easy to grab that and get a little more learned, you know, as we make our way to Tennessee. Let's see. We stopped at a rest area with a lake behind it and payphones, so that was fun. We stopped at a gas station in Metropolis, Illinois, so a little bit of seeds of Portnoy stuff happening already. And then, you know, this was really interesting. I'm driving down the interstate, and I just happened to look over and see this giant painted road sign of George Harrison. Now, people that listen to this show know I've been talking a lot about my friend Brian, who passed recently, and sharing a lot of stories about him, and even sharing a show with him on it. His favorite Beatle was always George. he's my favorite Beatle as well. And it's no surprise to me that these things keep happening where I feel like he's with me and he letting me know in various ways. Between his sister and I must have at least a couple of pages of things that have happened since he passed that we recognize and we're very tuned into, and my antennae are way up, and I have my eyes wide open for things like that. So it was just cool that I got to see that on the way up, and it reminded me why I'm going to see this band that he and I shared a love for. So all great stuff. Super grateful for that. Want to play you the first track of this podcast. It is one of Lindsay and I's favorite things to listen to is Ronnie James Dio singing For Anybody. And this particular track I'm going to play for you is by Black Sabbath during his era in that band, and it is a song called The Mob Rules, and it is a great road song. So if you're on the road somewhere right now, crank this. Here it comes. Well, that is surely a rocker and gets this podcast off to a very nice start. Hope you enjoyed it. which leads to my next tidbit, which at a rest area at right at the Tennessee-Kentucky line, I think. Uh, so rock and rollers call leather vests battle vests. You know, saw many of them at the Iron Maiden show last weekend. But motorcyclists just call them leather vests, I think. And, you know, they also have a bunch of patches on theirs. So the patch that had that caught my eye was in large bold letters. It said "nipple freak." So I don't know why. I love that so much, but I will never. I don't. It would be hard for me to forget that. And now, especially that it's on audio, that I hope saves this time, or that is actually registering. I'm doing my best to make this thing happen. I'm trying to keep my frustration out of this, but it's coming through. So, anyway, I got a lot to cover here. We get to the Motel 6 at check-in time right around 3. It's not the best. We looked on Neil's website and stuff for hotel recommendations, and like all of them were already full by the time I bought tickets, which was fairly early still, but not early enough apparently. It's a small town, so these hotels all fill up fairly quickly, I assume. Not the best, but it was okay. They didn't have like complimentary breakfast. They didn't have a gym, but besides that, I'm okay with it. Picked up some Wendy's. Then we hop over to the venue. There's a line around the building, and it grows quickly. Nice folks in line with me. A guy named Bob and his son, who is younger, probably about 15, and then a guy named Neil right in front of them. Lots to talk about. You know, most of the time is just music-based conversation, but anytime I go to something like this, if we're going to be in line for a while, you might as well strike a conversation with your neighbors because you got a lot to talk about. Like I said last week, once you get to the gig, everybody's in the same club. We're all there for the same reason. Let's talk about it. As we're walking up towards the front door, the keyboardist for Neil Morse Band is watching some musicians right outside the front door playing some Kansas and stuff. I believe one of them is related to Livgren of Kansas. So that was cool. But Bill's just standing there hanging out. So that's the first indication of what this gig is going to be like. You know, the people are just there enjoying themselves, and it's a very tight-knit community, and everybody's very open and welcoming, and the musicians are just around, you know. So very cool. Going inside, Lindsay and I have a game plan. Mine is to go to merch. Hers is to go get our seats. So as soon as we walk in, she bolts to as close as we can get for a nice view, that kind of thing. She ends up getting second row on the right side, which is fantastic. There's some PA speakers sort of close to there, but none of it obscured our view of the actual stage and musicians themselves, so that was cool. Okay, so my seat neighbor here, his name was Jeff. I wrote down his last name somewhere. Jeff Bryant. Very nice dude. Again, I don't know this guy, but he was there by himself, and we're going to be sitting next to each other during intermission and stuff. I might as well talk to him, right? Get over my social anxiety and actually talk to people about stuff we love. So very cool. Very cool. Again, lots to discuss. So one amazing thing that also gave me an indication of what this weekend is going to be like was as stragglers are sort of getting there, and it's becoming evident that there are more people in this room than maybe have ever been there. At least that's what the talk of it was. And some show organizers are up on stage, um, helping these people find seats. You know, like asking people to scoot in on the pews of this church. Which, by the way, the venue is a church. With pews set up all the way back, and then a couple of seats extra added on to each end of the rows. And I'll be damned if every seat in that place wasn't full for both nights. And they are helping these people find a nice, comfortable place to be in the venue while it's happening. And you don't see that ever at gigs. It's not a thing. Going back to that Maiden show, if somebody got there, if it was more of an open seating situation at a metal show, people would just be like, well, you're shit out of luck. You got here late. That's your fault, you know? But it's not. That's a very negative way to approach it. I don't understand why that is the way it is. But anyway, they helped people find seats, and it was really cool. Opening musician was Mr. Randy McStein, sort of an ambient singer-songwriter, electric acoustic combination of styles that was really cool. He blazed through his 30-minute set. There's a lot to love there. He also gave what Lindsay called was a TED Talk about family and love and music and stuff. So that was also cool. You know, I think I'm gonna actually link some stuff for my guitarist, because there was this moment during the middle of set, one of the songs, where he gets into pedal world, and he did a thing that Neil also did at his recent show here in St. Louis, solo show, that what he did is he would play a part or make it some kind of noise with his guitar, use that process through his pedals, layer it, and then build this cacophony of sounds. And it was just kind of stellar and unreal how well he was able to pull that off. I loved it. I would definitely recommend Randy McStein to anybody interested in talented musicians. Then the intermission happens. Lindsay and I take a step outside. There's a mom from Indy who her family, or maybe she herself, was also at the Maiden show, so that was a cool little conversation. Go inside and find the standard very long men's room line at any progressive rock show. That is the case. Or metal show, that is the case. Especially during intermission. It maybe went a little bit quicker, though, because there wasn't any alcohol being sold. So that was cool. Women's room, I'm sure they had no problem. There was plenty of ladies at the show, though. I loved that even in prog rock world, we've converted them. Right? It's great. Let's see. Okay, so moving on to Flying Colors. So a little bit of intro to this band. Believe the first record came out around 2009, maybe 10, something like that. Collection of very talented musicians from several bands. Steve Morse, Neil Morse, Casey McPherson, Dave LaRue, and Mike Portnoy. The set was sort of a career retrospective with 3 new songs from a record that's coming out on the 4th of October thrown in. New album's called Third Degree. I don't know if I just said that or not. Third Degree. And you should definitely check out some of those new songs online. They're great. There's 2 of them up right now. And I guess I can kind of go through their set list really quickly. Let's pull it up here. I have it on my phone. They opened with Blue Ocean, which is a great album opener from the first record. Place in Your World is next. And then a new song, More, which I love. Kayla is another great sort of. I've one of the best sing along songs of the weekend, maybe. And then You Are Not Alone, which is a new song, and Casey introed it by telling the story of the song, which is um, in late August of 2017. Actually, it was on my birthday that this happened. He was down in Texas helping people who were victims of a hurricane. So, a couple things about that. Very touching song, tearjerker. Um, for Lindsay, it was because he was rescuing animals. For me, it was because it was August 25th of 2017 was the same day that I visited my dad, who had had an unfortunate accident at his work that left brain damage, and that was the day that I saw him walk up towards me out of the rehab facility, when the last time I had seen him, he was laid up in a hospital bed. So it was just a absolute miracle, unbelievable. So grateful for that moment, and to have this song be about that day is never going to be lost on me. So anyway, moving on to Forever and a Days. Great song, Fury of My Love, another great old song from the second record. And then they played Crawl, which is maybe my favorite of the new stuff. They see, what's great is going to this special show, they're playing songs for the first time and debuting songs that no one in the world has ever heard. Nobody on the internet knows of this song yet. And they politely ask people, please don't record. And everyone is very nice about it and does not do anything like that. A couple photos. That's about it, though. No video. That's a very small favor to ask, right? Let's see. Yeah, so Crawl is like their Xanadu. Is their Rush's Xanadu. I can't express how much I loved it. And then we get two epic sort of songs to end: Peaceful Harbor and Infinite Fire. Wonderful. Always loved those songs, and actually this entire set, I've looked forward forever to hearing all of these. Then we moved to the encore. Well, first I must mention that the crowd is absolutely electric during this performance. There's groups from all over the world, but this specific one right across the aisle from us, I believe people said they were from Argentina. I might be wrong about that, but they're singing guitar parts and lyrics and keyboard melodies and everything. They're jumping up and down. They're cheering at all the right moments. They're clapping constantly. They're everything that a passionate music fan in a live situation that you would want, right? And I even gathered them as we were walking out and told them how much I loved them and that they brought so much energy, and that was infectious throughout the rest of the crowd too. And that was on both nights they did this. Anyway, they started the Olay chant during the darkness of the intermission in between when the band left and came back to the stage, and that was just magic. You gotta love it. Moving to the encore. And I'll play one of these songs here for you in a second. But Cosmic Symphony, another amazing song. I really love the intro miniature snare that Mike uses on this part. I always have loved it. Just a very small moment of a very epic song. So there you go. Then we get The Storm. Just amazing. Wonderful track. And that is the song I'm about to play for you. But I first must mention that they ended the set with Masked Machine, probably the most accessible tune of theirs that they've released as a single on the last record, and it's really a nice driving rock and roll song. Firmly embraced by the crowd. Everyone's having a wonderful time singing along to everything. Just can't say enough good things about this band and this set. So much fun. So, without further ado, I'm going to play you a song called The Storm. This is from their first record. I didn't do research on that, but I believe it's from the first record. If it's not, please correct me. I'm sorry. Here it is. This is Flying Colors with The Storm.
There was a time when my life was easy, stretched out in the sun. Everything was clover, the world was off my shoulders for a while. Then the sky turned a bonfire shade and hit me like a gun. It passed with flying colors, but there's no flying over the storm. Sometimes we get swept away, we're forced to take the change. The desert gives you comfort, you can't stay here all your wounded life. Underneath as the tempest rage, your secrets come undone. When mountains need moving, let me help you through.
And that is The Storm by Flying Colors, and that's a great outro too, where it just sort of like gently winds down and you get the rain in the background, the drums soften, the keyboard melody carries us out very gently. I love it. Okay, so end of that show. As I said, everyone's kind of on cloud nine. There's really no crowd experience I've had like that and that much love and energy in a room since the 20th anniversary Dream Theater show. And I think I posted that on the Neil Morris forum, but it really is as close of a comparison as I can feel. People from all over the world traveled for these special shows, right? Couple next to us was from Brazil. We had the group from Argentina, most likely, and then we had my buddy Jeff, who I just met at this show. He's from an hour away from the gig, so literally everywhere, all over the map. I even heard from Japan. Like, it does not get further than that, right? Lindsay and I got lots of compliments on our Rush t-shirts as we make our way around the venue a little bit. Should be mentioned that Peter Collins, who also was the producer of the first Flying Colors record, was there in a white suit. I noticed him, and I had seen him on making of DVDs before. He's famous for producing Rush and Genesis and stuff like that. I should have done more research about what albums he's done specifically, but Peter Collins is great. After the show, takes us about 2 hours to come down from the high of the show and get some shut-eye. We're both just loving life, and it really was the perfect day one. No problems whatsoever. You really can't beat it, you know. You hope for everything to go right, and when it does completely, it's great. I forgot to mention we did grab a couple of t-shirts. Nicely discounted stuff, too. I got a shirt that I wasn't able to get whenever Neil Morse Band came to St. Louis in February. They were already out of them at that point, so good stuff. I want to mention I also have a bunch of photos and little snippets of videos and stuff of this entire trip. Just go to either my personal Facebook or my Instagram, and I'll repost a few of them on the Ritual Disc Flip stuff too. You know, we're all over the internet. Ritual Disc Flip on all of the socials. Would love to hear from you. Excuse me. Moving on to Morsefest Day 2. I am again up very early, about 6 a.m. I go to get coffee, and then it spills all over my shorts. So that's how I started my day. You start low, and then you build on it. It's not all going to be bad. It can't be. I'm in the best place I could possibly hope for. So, anyway. Sitting in my camp chair in the parking lot behind my Jeep, taking notes that I'm actually using to do this right now. Very nice, relaxing morning. 70-ish degrees outside. Beautiful. Not a cloud in the sky. Anyway, go over to Waffle House, use McDonald's Wi-Fi, and use it to drown out Bon Jovi in my headphones. Oh, gosh, I really do not like Bon Jovi. I don't understand it. It's just not for me. Let's see. Okay, so then there's the morning show, which is exclusive for Inner Circle members, of which I, of course, am one. Get there very early, get the Rockstar parking. Talk to some new friends in the line, Mr. Rick Atkinson. We have a long conversation. Really, it's the second longest that I have of the weekend with anybody about Tool and all kinds of bands. Everything Portnoy is up to, that kind of thing. Inside, I met a couple, John Colston and his wife, and they were also very, very nice. we were talking about the Flying Colors vinyl and the different versions of that first record that are out there. All really cool, interesting stuff that only these people. These are my people. These are the people are half the reason I'm there. You know what I mean? It's great. I love the camaraderie and the sharing of our love for this thing that brings us all together. Checked another thing off of my list and said hello to Roy Avon, who wrote the one of my favorite books that I've talked about a little bit on this show, Essential Modern Progressive Rock Albums. Covers 90 to 2016, and told him I read it very often. So he graciously said thank you. And then okay, so here's another thing that never happens at other gigs: donuts and coffee. As soon as you walk in, who does that? It's amazing. They're so giving. This place that I'm at is full of love and giving people, and it just can't be understated how amazing the people that run this thing are at what they do. We give them our money and our thanks, and shower them with love, and they repay us, once a year. And I should have been there before, but whatever, life gets in the way, right? You make plans to do stuff, and then other things come up that keep you from doing the things you want to do. So this time it worked out for us, and I absolutely am in love with this place, and I'll definitely be back. But anyway, as I said, I grabbed that first Flying Colors vinyl. Wonderful. Can't wait to listen to it after this. Okay, so I ended up getting fourth row center for this show, which is a very intimate acoustic show with Neil. Seated next to some very nice people, Tim and Kylara. Kylara? I'm not sure. I'm just going to call her Kai. How about that? Tim and Katie LaRock were the husband and wife, and their son and daughter, Kai and Vincent. Kai sat next to me. She's 15, and Tim and Katie took her to the SCORE 20th Anniversary Dream Theater show in New York that Brian and I were also at. She was 2. It's amazing to me that I can sit next to her and we can have conversations on the same level and be so different in age, and it's just a beautiful thing. Everyone in that room shares that, and there's nothing there's no longer any separation between all of us. We're all there, so it's great. Wonderful conversation with all of those guys, and then and John and his wife were sitting on my other side, and we got some great pictures, and those are posted up. Anyway, this concert is like a year in the life of Neil. He played a bunch of unreleased, unrecorded material. Real tearjerker stuff started about halfway through, but ended on a great upbeat song. I don't have the set list of this, the full set list of this up handy, but I know he opened with a Spock's Beer song called All on a Sunday. And just a really wonderful set, very emotional. And there was a lot of love in that room while that was happening. And I certainly couldn't have been the only one also getting emotional, definitely got teary-eyed again. That happened at every show, by the way, is me not blubbering, but definitely having a tear or two, and for good reason. These musicians, while being immensely talented at what they do and being the most proficient players, they are able to connect with me emotionally at the same time, and that is what I want. I want the whole spectrum all put in one and presented very well, and they do it. So cheers to all of them. I want to play a song that they did not play, but it will give you a very good idea of what Neil does in his sort of acoustic zone. And Spock's Beard fairly often went there. So this is a song from the album Snow by Spock's Beard. It was Neil's last with the band, and this song is called, entitled, I should say, Wind at My Back. Here it is.
How can you be like a sky stretched out before me, and the world is turning your way? Even darkness is better this way. Oh, can it be true that it all comes rushing from you when my resistance is gone and there's nothing that I can lean on? Oh, oh. You are the wind at my back. You give what I lack. You're the jewel in my hand. You're like rain on dry land. You're the
So that song hits me the right way every single time. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe that gives you a better idea of what Neil does, or I should say did, with Spock's beard. And, there's a lot of different types of stuff they presented. So I would definitely look into their back catalog if you can ever find the time. So we leave the gig. Lindsay actually slept in for that one. I don't blame her. If you're on vacation, you get it when you can. So I got home and she wanted breakfast, so we go get some pancakes. But it was an IHOP Express, and that means it's attached to a gas station, and it's more of a fast foodie type IHOP. And I didn't enjoy my meal, but hopefully she did hers. I don't know. It wasn't good for me. Some between gig listening back at the hotel in the comfort of the AC and our bed, listening to more Tool. Still digging in and loving it. Listened to recent release Sons of Apollo live record. We sampled it. I checked out the live covers they did with orchestra, some Zeppelin, some Queen, some Aerosmith. Lindsay and I are kind of on the same page about this. We just don't really enjoy that guy's voice very much. They're certainly all very talented. And, of course, Mike's in the band, so I have to check out whatever it is. But maybe one day I'll come around to them. I don't know. Earlier, while we were in line before the morning gig, Rick suggested me some stuff by Dave Kersner. It's an album called New World. At least I think it's called New World. I wrote that down by memory. Very Floydish with tinges of stuff like Nine Inch Nails and some Portnoy style drumming in there too, even. So they're kind of all over the place, but I definitely dug it. I'm gonna be checking out more of stuff by him. Rick also told me that Phil Collins' kid has some interesting solo stuff too that I need to check out. So I'm in the process of getting to that, but thank you, Rick, for the recommendation. I definitely liked it. He said he checked out the Tool as well, and he was on a long drive, and it was putting him in a trance of possible sleep, so he turned it off. I totally understand, man. That's fair. So let me pull up the notes I put in my phone for show 3, I should say, evening show. We arrive at about 5:15. This is a shorter line, but lots of VIP this day, and I brought one of the camping chairs for Lindsay to hang out in. And it is hot outside, but we do what we do the entire trip, and we just talk to our line neighbors again. So we met Scott and Jessica from Colorado, and also originally from Southern Illinois, so we kind of know that area a little bit, and we had some conversation about that. But we talk about all kinds of stuff in the 2+ hours that we end up having to wait. There's a little bit of delays before each show of the weekend, just because they want to get in as much rehearsal as they can, which totally makes sense. They're like really coming down to the wire every time. We want it to be as good as it can possibly be, so everyone is nice, very patient in line. This conversation with Scott was the longest single conversation I had of the weekend, though, so that was cool. Everything from music to travel to work to kids, you name it. Really nice dude. Hope I get to run into him again eventually. After those delays I just spoke of, we get in just as the sun goes down around 7:30. Same sort of game plan. She runs off, I think, to use the restroom, and I go straight to the seats. No need to purchase merch anymore. I've already purchased enough. We go to the opposite side of the room, left side facing the stage, and I end up getting 4th row there. Had a little bit of a mini freak out because I thought that the drums that were the percussion drums, the side percussionists, were Portnoy's for a little bit. I just got it mixed up in my head for whatever reason, and I thought maybe the PA speakers were going to obscure him. Turns out I was completely wrong. And when they took the cover off of the drums in the middle to right side of the stage, they were Portnoy's, and I couldn't have been more wrong. So I'm big enough to admit it when I'm wrong. So anyway, after that mini freak out, Steve Morse and his band opened the show. Of course, Steve Morse, one of the members of Flying Colors, but he's also in the band Deep Purple, if you ever heard of him. And his own solo stuff, which is what we're about to see. He's very, very good. And this band certainly didn't disappoint. First show for them in 7 years. Amazing instrumental set. They played a song especially for Neil that they'd never played before live. And they ended with a Dixie Drake song that I recognize. I don't remember the name of it, but I know that Dream Theater covered at least part of it in a live track that's on the Change of Seasons EP. Totally worth checking out. But what's great is, like, you pick up on all these other influences from other bands. So, like, you learn about one band and then it spiderwebs out and you find out about all these others. You know, it started with Dream Theater in this case, and it spiderwebbed out to Dixie Dregs, and it spiders out to Steve Morse, and then so on, right? So, wonderful, amazing way to end the set. They barely squeezed in that last tune as well, so I loved that happened. Lots of really passionate people for his band too. I saw Steve Morse shirts around from, like, that looked like they were old shirts, and you know, people find out he's going to play again, and they're like, well, we got to go. You know, all these people are in the same boat. They hear that a very special gig is about to happen, and they're like, well, we have to go, right? So I think that's very much how I'm going to view this now from now on. Let's see here. So I talked with my seat neighbor here a little bit before any of the bands played. I guess he's a little out of order, but get some more conversation in between Steve Morse and Neil Morse band. And Tim is cool. He's from Tennessee, very into some Christian bands that I found them to be more obscure, but he is very deep into that world, and we talked about some vinyl and stuff like that. Very great talk. I also ended up bringing up my experiences with Brian and how they've brought me closer to my spiritual side, and how they brought me ultimately to this weekend, you know, to embrace this music and experience even more and that kind of thing. I really love sharing Brian's story with new friends who are, like, welcoming and open to that sort of thing. And he even said, like, after hearing that, he wants to call his buddy he hadn't talked to in a really long time. So that's the entire point, right? Is to just be more aware and open and take more advantage of every day that you can and live your best life, right? Let's move on to the Neil Morse band. It's the reason for the season. It's the reason everybody's there, to see them put on their best show. This was the closing set from their Great Adventure tour. They both started and ended it in Tennessee, so that's cool. Played with many backup singers, brass section and string section. Actually, Flying Colors also had a string section and backup singers, but both bands very much enhanced by these extra musicians. It makes the music soar. It makes it sound closer to what the record sounds like, because the record does have strings on it and stuff. Just wonderful. Lots of amazing crowd participation during this set as well. before we get any further, I want to play one of the tracks from this. It's the title track. It is called The Great Adventure. And let's go on the ride together, shall we?
I'm headed out to who knows where. My path is treading lightly. See the city standing there, the morning clouds behind me. And where I go, I will be found as the valley mystifies, and the world turns on its side. I'm going for the simple way, like Huck and old Tom Sawyer. I'm seeking for the light of day, the path of the peaceful warrior. The sky is red under the sun, as the earth begins to rise, like a love that never dies. It's the great adventure of my life, and I feel emotion everywhere. It's the great adventure of my life, and there's revolution in the air. I am striving for a better life, and I feel like I can make it here. It's the great adventure of my life, and anything can happen here. I leave behind my apprenticeship, a fancy word for nothing. I was an intern for the mothership, a flunky for distraction. I'm on the path my father tried, and my answer to me lies maybe somewhere in his eyes. It's the great adventure of my life, and I feel emotion everywhere. It's the great adventure of my life, and there's revolution in the air. I am striving for a better life, and I feel like I can make it here. It's the great adventure of my life, and anything can happen here. All the voices made their choices, trapped in all they see. The lunatics and politics all binding up in me. Breaking out, I'm leaving down in darkness far behind. I'm pushing through to something new that's glowing in my mind. Glowing in my mind.
Woo, man, that's a good one. That was one that really woke up the crowd if they weren't already, which by the way they were. Everybody's going nuts. There's a lot of really nice hills and valleys in this record, and we definitely, Thelmo and I broke it down a lot. So if you want to go back and check out that long episode where we talk about the entire thing. So I won't get too much into the technical aspects, but really just the crowd is absolutely on fire. We had the crazy Argentina group jumping up and down constantly. Entire crowd is full of air drummers and guitarists, and I feel like those guys specifically brought an energy out of Neil. And Mike even commented that there was less tears and tissues used ever. Than ever, I should say. And he's not wrong, but I think like Neil was just having such a good time so in the zone with the energy we put out to him that it maybe lessened that emotional side from happening. Now, that's not to say that his energy wasn't purely emotional and amazing, but the tears wise, I should say, was definitely less. Again, everyone in the room is in this club of sharing this really special moment, and it's a total gift. It must be recognized. We all must be more aware of it. How lucky and gifted we are that we get this type of show. It's unreal, and I really hope that the live recordings and the live video recordings convey that to the watcher and the listener at home, because there's really nothing like being in that place with those people and seeing that happen, seeing that amazing magic happen on stage. There is absolutely nowhere even close. Like I said, the closest I ever got was the magic and the electricity of Radio City Music Hall for the Dream Theater 20th. But that's it. No other place. I hope that I will be lucky enough to find myself there again, and I believe I will. I'll do whatever I have to. I'll take whatever kind of vacation days I need to get out there. I'll save up for a long time to make that happen. So the show winds down. Amazing emotional moments throughout. Unreal guitar solos by Eric Gillette. I didn't really intro the band too much because I've talked about it ad infinitum in the past, so just go back and listen to that. But suffice to say, everybody's on the highest possible level of playing. A couple of flub ups I did notice, but that they're human. They'll give a funny look to each other. Some great Portnoy moments that he created for the live show, that aren't on the record, that only the live crowd gets, those funny special moments. So that's great. None of that's ever lost on me. I pick up all the tiny little things, and I'm sure plenty of other people in the crowd did too. So wonderful. Nothing but the highest compliments from me on every musician that played this weekend. Let's see. So we leave. We are so drained of energy that we both just don't even know where to get food or anything. So we just go to the closest place to the hotel, which is a Taco Bell. Apparently, this town doesn't have an insane amount of people at Taco Bell at midnight on a Saturday. If you tried that here in St. Louis, there's no way. We'd be in line for at least half an hour. So anyway, it was nice. In and out. Get home. It takes us another 2 hours or whatever to come down from the high. We put on Return of the Jedi. We're both super slap happy, and eventually we both drift off to sleep after another amazing day. Totally incredible, beyond every expectation I ever had. Okay, so next morning, get up very early, sun up, get a great photo from the Jeep. Driving to a trail in the town that we're staying about 2 miles away, in White House, and it basically runs along the side of this very large creek, and it's just beautiful. I Anybody that goes to Morsefest, please check it out. It's really close. Okay, so I know I have this photo in here because I looked it up early and referenced it. I've already done this show, like I mentioned. By the way, it's going very much the same. It's actually going okay. I'm not frustrated anymore. I actually like talking about it again, which is cool. So okay. I pulled up the map. It goes along the Honey Run Creek, and it looks like the title is White House Greenway Arboretum. Arboretum. Interesting. Yeah, so it's just a really nice trail. If you need to relax or get some cardio in instead of just sitting on your butt in your hotel the entire time, totally worth the time to go out there and check it out. I probably walked about half of it before Lindsay got up out of bed and said she wanted to head out pretty soon. So some really nice views. I posted a couple of those on my socials too, so go ahead and check that out. Hit the road about 8 a.m. Sunday. Very smooth trip home. Weather cooperated 100% again. I've since heard tale of huge rains as soon as we left town on Friday, and then a little bit of rain on Sunday morning before we got in. So we dodged all of it. It's amazing. And then also a tornado was spotted by a fellow Morsefest traveler in southern Illinois just like a few hours after we got back. So I'm glad we were able to really just like weave in and out of weather problems, and just a normal amount of traffic too, so not bad at all for the trips. Some return trip listening. Let's see, podcast from The Dollop, which is a nice comedic American history podcast. Totally recommend listening to The Dollop. And also Comedy Bang Bang as well, which made Lindsay and I crack up a ridiculous amount. And I also put on Baroness, Golden Gray, which was their latest record, and I have covered that on the show before as well. So, what's great, and we finished up the Kersner stuff as well. But I think like one of the best things about road trips is you have the time to listen to a lot of music and a lot of stuff. So, it makes the entire experience that much better. Maybe go check out some of that stuff I just mentioned, and you can really get an idea of what it was like to be me on this trip. That's really what this tour diary, or this road trip diary / show review, festival review thing is I want you to know what my experience was like. And I hope it was interesting even in the least, right? So, before we get to the closing track, I'd like to give personal thanks again to all the people that I met and spoke with even a little bit. Bob and his son, and Neil from the line of day one. My seat partner, Jeff Bryant, from night one. Day two from the morning show, Rick Atkinson, John Colston and his wife, Tim, Katie, Kai, and Vincent. You guys are all awesome. And from the evening show, Scott Stieber and his wife, and my seat partner, Tim Eaton. All of you guys made my experience mine and Lindsay's experience, so worth every cent that I paid to get down there. All of the time invested. I can't ever express how amazing of a time and how welcomed I felt, and I will certainly hope to see you all again down the road someday. I don't see why any of you would not want to go back, because it was my first. I know it was the most highly attended of any Morsefest yet, and they're on their 6th year, so that's a good sign. All signs are pointing to very, very good shows in the future. But as I said earlier, most of the reason maybe like half and half, the music and the people. That is what makes it all worth it. That is what makes me feel like that it was all such an amazing experience, is everything that encompasses that entire thing, right? Without the people coming to the show doesn't happen, you know? You guys make Lindsay and I feel so loved, and I can't thank you enough. So this one's out to you guys and to my friend Brian, who was such a huge Portnoy fan, and we nerded out all the time about it, and he fueled my fire for this music, and will continue to do so for the rest of my life. So as long as Morsefest is happening, I'm going to do everything I can to be down there with you guys. And I hope anybody else that listens to this, you got a nice view into what it was like to be there. It's a very beautiful spot of the country, too. So worth flying in from practically anywhere for a nice few days with people who are all there to just experience some moments together. And what is better than that, right? Sharing amazing experiences with each other is what life is all about. It's really a family, and I feel a part of that now. As a fan, I always feel a part of a collective of some kind, right? But this is more than that. And when you go down, because I hope you will, you'll see exactly what I mean. Thank you to everyone who listens, especially if it's your first time. If any person involved in the bands or organizations thereof hears this and would like me to pull the music for whatever reason, please let me know. I'll edit it out and repost it. I have no problem doing that. I just want to share my experience, and I completely understand if you would rather me not post that. And yeah, so let's close on the natural closer of this podcast, which has to be A Love That Never Dies, which is the album closer of The Great Adventure. Thank you all for listening. Please join me on all the socials and let me know what you think. Review the show on whatever your podcast listening app is. And join us on Facebook at the Ritual Disc Flip Listeners Group. I would love to hear from you and talk to you again in the very near future. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
As the morning seeks the sun, in the whisper of my life, as the haze lifts from my eyes, standing now at river's edge, as my heart begins to run to a love that never dies. And oh, through the flood and through the fire, and oh, through the tears of our goodbyes, and oh, like the wind upon the water, comes a love that never dies. So it comes that I must go and leave this world behind, and I will see my Father's eyes. 'Cause now